Hello, this is a first introduction to the APIgen platform. APIgen helps to quickly generate production-ready and customizable APIs for your use case. To start, we simply log in at the backend. At the project panel, we can create a new project by clicking on the plus button. To create a project, we need to provide a title, the domain of your API, a short description, and also a contact URL. Those values are then also used at the generated API. Now we have to design our data structure. This means we can create models which represent our business case. In this example, we simply create two models with a reference. APIgen will then create, based on this data structure, a complete REST API with endpoints to create, receive, update and delete those entities. An advantage of this generative approach is that you can easily extend and customize the generated code. For example, if you want to send an email, if a new entry was created, you could easily add such a logic to your endpoint. The generated code has a clean design, and it comes also with a Docker file so that you can easily run your API. We are now ready with our model design. We have created the person and document entity and can now save our project. Now we can generate and download the code. As next step, we use our editor to take a look at the generated code. The project contains a generated README file with installation instructions. To start the installation, we need at first edit the .env file and set the fitting database credentials. Also, we need to set the fitting Fusio URL, which must contain the domain of your API. Now we can start the installation. We can either manually execute each command, or we use the provided install script, which already contains all needed commands. At first, we need to provide a username, email and password, which are used at the installation. At first, the script uses Composer to install all dependencies. Then we need to confirm to execute the migration, which install the Fusio database schema to the configured database. Now the installation is complete and you are ready to use the API. Before we are using the API, let's take a short look at the generated files. The resources folder contains all meta information about your API. The operation YAML file contains all available operations. Each operation is assigned to a specific HTTP method and path. As you can see, we have generated for each model fitting CRUD operations. Now let's take a look at the SRC folder. The action folder contains an action for each operation. For example, we have an action to get all documents or to create a document. The migrations folder contains the doctrine migration schema to set up your database. The generator automatically adds common columns like the insert date to each model. The model folder contains the data transfer objects which are used at the service layer. The service classes contain the actual business logic of your API. They contain methods to create, update or delete an entity. This would be also the place to add custom logic. For example, you could add validation constraints or execute additional business logic. The table folder contains a class for each table. Basically, a table is like a repository where you can add additional methods to fetch data. The view folder contains classes to generate the entity or collection response. Basically, a view generates a complex JSON structure for the get or getAll operation. We have now looked at the generated code. Let us see how the API works in action. For this, we go to our Fusio instance and log in to the backend. We use the credentials which we have provided on installation. We now see the Fusio backend which you can use to manage your API. Fusio is an open-source API management system. In this demo we only take a short look into the backend, but you can find more information about Fusio at fusio-project.org. We have also installed the Redoc app from our marketplace to view the OpenAPI specification. You can see each endpoint is available and provides a clean request and response schema so that it is very easy to consume this API. This was a short introduction to the APIgen platform. As you can see, it can help to quickly build a ready-to-use API which can be also easily extended. Feel free to register and work with APIgen.